Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of Cow Podcasts. Today we have a very special guest, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of Forbes Media, Mr. Steve Forbes.
My grandfather said the purpose of business is not to pile up money, but to produce happiness.
If you were to start a Forbes Women in Central Asia, what you will be focused on and what topics would you rather?
Knowledge knows no boundaries. One of the things I think your country still has to work on is make it easier to set up a legal business.
How did you approach that emergence of internet in the 90s? And because your company is still incredibly successful.
Every organization should ask itself, what is your purpose? What is it you are trying to do? What is your mission? As said my grandfather in the first issue of Forbes said the purpose of business is to produce happiness, not to pile up money. One person can't be everything.
Forbes is known for its famous lists. How do you make sure that the people on these lists are correct? And what rules or checks do you use?
You're not going to get perfection in this world, but you constantly try to get more and more sources and discover things every cycle. Even 2 years ago, Donald Trump fell off our rich list. He's back on it now.
He's back on it. Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of Cow Podcasts. Today we have a very special guest, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of Forbes Media, Mr. Steve Forbes.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, welcome. This podcast is going to be led by myself, Alexey Semyonov. I am Chief Development Officer at Central Asian University, and our dearest Shahida Ibrahimova,
Vice Rector of Central Asian University, and I'm expert of financial literacy for women in Uzbekistan.
Good.
Excellent. Mr. Forbes, you are a legendary person. Everybody knows a lot about you. And we all know that your career in media is really remarkable. You've started in Princeton, the Business Today journal with a group of students, and that was an incredible success. Then managing Forbes Media, obviously that's a great success. So what would you say is the core, the key principle of having a very successful media company, media business, and how would you measure that success?
Well, you measure it by, are people looking at it? Are they reading it? Do they come to your events? In other words, what they call value added. And as you know, the internet, one of the things the internet has done over the years is ruthlessly commoditize everything. So unless you have a distinct purpose, have the trust, you will not ultimately succeed on the internet. So from the beginning at Forbes, in the first issue of Forbes magazine back in 1917, my grandfather said the purpose of business is not to pile up money, but to produce happiness. Mm-hmm. And so Forbes has always seen its mission is to provide people with the tools, the analyses, the examples, good and bad, to enable people to get ahead in the world. And people have compared us to what we call a drama critic. Mm-hmm. We like it when a production is done well. We don't like it when a production or a company is failing or not doing what it should do. But we see business as a good undertaking. We see entrepreneurs as heroes, not villains. Doesn't mean we aren't critical, but we see the good purpose to which they are dedicating their lives.
And this is great because media is a very creative area, right? It's one of the most creative areas probably in the industry. But probably there are some key pillars, some principles that none of the media companies can ever violate. What would those be? What do you think?
Well, the key thing is, are you reliable? Are you trustworthy? Is it something that people turn to? We have, for example, for several years, what we call 30 under 30. Mm-hmm. Around the world, we find 30 individuals in 20 different categories, young people, doing extraordinary things. And we bring them together, whether it's in a foreign nation, whether it's Slovakia or Botswana or elsewhere, the U.S., thousands of people coming together for several days to discuss, to network. And so we do 80 to 90 live events a year with Forbes Media. And online, we have over 2,000 contracted contributors. In the days of old, when it was just a print publication, you could do, 1,000 articles a year? We do online over 100,000 pieces a year. So the key thing is, it's the essence of a free market. Are we providing something that meets the needs and wants of other people? And if you do that, you will have a chance at success.
I have a very interesting question for a woman. If you were to start a Forbes Women in Central Asia, what you will be focused on and what topics would you write there?
It would be very basic. One is financial tools that you can. Knowledge knows no boundaries, and so key is to not be intimidated by things like balance sheets and things like that. You can master it or find somebody you trust who can. One person can't be everything. And then what are any particular barriers to starting a business? One of the things I think your country still has to work on is make it easier to set up a legal business, reduce the processes. I would urge you to look at the example of New Zealand, where you can set up a legal business with some keystrokes on a computer in a matter of hours or a day or two, not have to go through various licenses, not have to go put up a lot of capital. You can do it and then move ahead. But the key thing is finding what can I do that somebody else, or what service or product can I produce that somebody else is going to find useful and is willing to buy. And it's true for men as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
You know, this is great what you mentioned about something has to be done simply. And if we talk about this internet and its influence, how some of the print media, they just didn't adapt. They just, died out, basically, a lot of them. How did you approach that emergence of internet in the 90s? And because your company is still incredibly successful, and what made you think that digital first has to be there and that you have to adapt to this new reality of internet being all around us?
As I just mentioned to some students, there's he's since died, but a business writer wrote books called Peter Drucker that was widely read in the years ago. And one of the things Drucker said was that every organization should ask itself, what is your purpose? What is it you are trying to do? What is your mission? And if you remind yourself of what your purpose is, then you don't get quite as upset or hung up, as we say in the U.S., on the means to achieve it. And one of but it's not easy, because everything we had learned with print, with the internet, we might say went out the window. And so we live in an era where you can eat well or sleep well, but not both.
Yeah.
And we remind ourselves of what our purpose is. As I said, my grandfather in the first issue of Forbes said the purpose of business is to produce happiness, not to pile up money.
Yeah.
And we see ourselves, again, as a tool for people who want to get ahead. And one of the things we recognized in the 1990s, this gets to human nature, is that we set up Forbes.com separate from the print company, put it in a separate building, because the normal thing for a company is to shape everything for its immediate purpose. So we didn't want the baby to be strangled in the crib.
Okay.
And then also we recognized at the beginning is the content online doesn't have to come just from the magazine. We used outside content. So we do have today over 2,000 contracted contributors for Forbes.com. We publish 80 to 100,000 pieces a year online. So very different. But what makes it fraught is that when you are making this change, there's no copybook. There's no painting by the numbers. You don't know whether you're doing it right or wrong. And that is where you get the sleepless nights from.
Yeah.
The world is changing. And
Yes.
even those who see a change sometimes cannot adapt to it. You take a famous case like Kodak, which
Mhm.
was a pioneer in consumer photography.
Yeah, and then
Saw the rise of digital, but couldn't make the adjustment
yeah.
quick enough and filed for bankruptcy. It's now back again, but it's nothing what it was before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And if we talk about this, happiness, so it has to bring happiness. Now, internet and these short videos and different media sources and so on, they say they give you dopamine, so everybody's always constantly on social media. And in social media, they get different information from different angles, different perspectives. So, if we talk about objectivity of information, and in media, this is a very important question. What's your approach to giving objective information? Does this exist in the world now? When we
Well,
talk
you
about
have
media?
to, again, ask yourself, what is your purpose? A news organization, a newspaper, or what we call in the U.S. Legacy media,
Yeah.
uh, once just saw itself as providing news.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have become, many of them allowed themselves to become party organs
Mm-hmm.
or ideological organs. And so people don't look at them the way they did in the past. Back when the United States began, most newspapers were party organs.
Mm-hmm.
Then it morphed, changed into broader, where once upon a time the newspaper had everything.
Mm-hmm.
Had news, sports scores, stock prices, crossword puzzles, horoscopes, and on Sunday in the U.S., comics,
I remember those
Yeah.
actually. I remember, I remember those.
what
Yeah.
they used to call the funnies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the newspaper had a bit of everything. Well, that has changed now,
Yeah.
but
Everything.
many newspapers didn't make the adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Many magazines didn't make the adjustment.
But for the critical thinkers, so when they read different media
Well,
sources,
one of the things that comes hopefully from a good education is you learn to judge what you are getting. You learn to ask the questions. Is this something I find useful? Is this something I find trustworthy? So education should help develop critical thinking
yeah.
and not just be passive.
This is exactly what my question was about, actually. So, with this critical thinking approach to media, are there any specific questions that people should start from when they're reading a media source? Like, what's the first thing they should pay attention to?
Well, what is being conveyed?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, why is it being conveyed? If there's an accident, that's very basic. But sometimes you should ask what we call in the United States, what is the backstory?
Mm-hmm.
Who is pushing this information and why? See this in politics all the time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
What is your angle? But then too, on something that's widely accepted, you should ask yourself, is there things beneath the surface that are not being explored?
Mm-hmm.
For example, alternative energy sources, what they call renewables. Everyone assumed that they would replace oil and gas. And it turns out, no. It is very expensive alternative. It is an addition to energy,
Mm-hmm.
traditional sources, not a substitute. But countries like Germany and others, all of them spent tens of billions, trillions of dollars
Yeah.
on something that was largely a waste
Mm-hmm.
when they should have been focused on energy that becomes cheaper and cheaper because we need energy. Everyone now recognizes that the internet requires a lot of energy. You take the cloud. The cloud today absorbs more energy, more electricity, twice as much energy as the entire nation of Japan,
Yeah.
which is the third or fourth largest economy in the world.
No. And speaking of AI, actually, all of those algorithms and machines and networks, they have to be trained on data, which consumes actually a lot of energy. And do you think AI is another revolution that Forbes Media or any other media should adapt to exactly as they've adapted to the appearance of the internet? Is this something revolutionary new or
Well,
just small
it is
tweaks?
revolutionary. And one of the things students should be taught is the word revolution is overused. Every new soap, revolution,
Yeah.
jacket, revolution. No.
Well, it was at its, time probably.
2,000 years ago, yes. But these changes that come, you again have to evaluate. And in terms of AI, we don't know how it is going to play out. We just know it will, and we will adapt and also not just see it as a threat, but as an opportunity. Even when things are getting twirled around, is there an opportunity there? Is there an opening there?
So is Forbes Media going to do?
Even from crises. For example, you take Walmart.
Mhm.
How did that company out of northwestern Arkansas beat the big department stores of the day like Sears and Kmart and others? Because they did logistics better. One of the things that this man, Sam Walton, did was study after World War II, Russia put a isolated Berlin.
Mhm.
And so how do you get food and sustenance in Berlin? They did the Berlin airlift. And the Berlin airlift required, because it had never been done before on that scale, where you bring literally in those days coal as well as clothing and everything else into this besieged city. And so a lot of improvisation, the American and also the British Air Forces. And so instead of dropping bombs, they were bringing in sustenance. And Sam Walton studied that. What could be learned from the logistics done in delivering those products that could be used for retailing? And so he managed information better than anyone else. So that's how he turned a small few stores into a giant that employs over 1 million people.
I have a also question related to your answer. What were the most important choices that helped Forbes successfully move from a print magazine to a digital platform, online first platform?
Remembering what is our purpose, which was to help people move ahead, succeed, learn lessons from successes and failures, and also recognizing that you just don't need to try to get information from a handful of editors and reporters. Why not find ways to mobilize everyone
Yeah.
for insights? So you may not see yourself as a journalist, but you may have interesting insights on accounting that there'd be an audience for. That's the thing about the internet. You can have specialized audiences under this umbrella of Forbes.com.
Yeah.
You also have a great political career. We all know that.
I don't know about great, but I have.
Well, it was a big political career, and obviously having this media company, you probably used it in some sense. Now, when we read sometimes media sources, it's conspicuous that there is some lobby behind them. So, how do you think media should be used to support one's political agenda, to communicate the views, to kind of, to make people see what is happening or what your
One
agenda
thing
is?
we did when I ran for president was I took a leave of absence from the company, and we never mentioned that I was running.
Oh, wow.
Never mentioned. We did not want to be accused of in-kind contributions.
Yeah.
And so Yes. So
So that's the danger, isn't it? Yeah. So
we
Mhm.
separated. So I didn't get paid. I took
Yeah.
the leave.
Yeah. But was so the other media sources, kind of the other media, because you have to really promote your political agenda, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Well,
what's
that gets to getting the information out.
Mhm.
And there are numerous ways to do it. In the old days, you do it through radio, TV, newspaper advertisements, rallies, mailings. Today, you have the whole range of social media,
Mhm.
many ways to get things out. And so,
But what do you think works best? Is it like straight to your face, you say what needs to be said, or is it more subtle sort of use of media?
all of the above.
All of the above.
It's like styles in running a company.
Hmm.
I can give you examples of every kind of style that can work or
But
not.
all works, basically, all
Well,
methods. Yeah, all
Could.
methods could work.
No guarantees.
I have also a very interesting question for everyone. Forbes is known for its famous lists, like the billionaires list or 30 under 30. How do you make sure that the people on these lists are correct? And what rules or checks do you use in Forbes magazine?
Well, you're constantly checking out sources. You'll always find when you write about thousands of people, sometimes you'll make, you don't get the judgment right, or people end up doing things they shouldn't do. You're not going to get perfection in this world, but you constantly try to get more and more sources
Hmm.
and discover things every cycle. So it's ongoing. It's not automatic. When you think things are automatic, you're going to get in trouble.
Yes.
Why do you think some of the lists are more kind of not successful, but let's say more famous than the others? And
Well,
what
we
do you
do a number of lists, but obviously people always want to know who's doing well in the world.
Yeah.
What's amazing about the lists, whether it's the richest people in the U.S. or the billionaires in the world, is how much turnover there is, how much change there is.
Hmm.
It's not a constant.
Yeah, yeah, it always changes.
Even 2 years ago, Donald Trump fell off our rich list. He's back on it now.
He's back on it.
But these things can fluctuate.
Yeah, that's true.
From your experience, what qualities do most women have in common who get featured in Forbes ranking? It's very interesting for me.
Well, there's other than gender, there is no common thing.
Mhm.
People are different.
Mm.
And again, you'll find all sorts of successes and non-successes, and others may find some common characteristics. But I think you have to focus, instead of saying a woman can do this or a woman can't do that, you have to figure out how do you get obstacles out of the way if you want to get something done. And so treat the person as an individual, not as a commodity.
Thank you.
Coming back to your student years at Princeton, when you started business today with the other students, our students are also very active in the media space. Obviously, they like this blogging and so on. We even have our own newspaper, which is not regular, but students do publish it. What advice would you give them? How to create a really successful student paper that just explodes beyond the university and goes viral?
If I knew that, I would be on our rich list.
But you've done that.
But the key is what audiences do you think you're serving?
Mhm.
What information are you giving that they would find either useful or very interesting?
Mhm.
And so it gets back to the basics.
Yeah, yeah. So again,
And-
focus, right?
Focus. And then one thing about technology is that it allows everyone to be a publisher. It allows everyone to be a blogger. It allows everyone to get a message out. That's why people feel sometimes there's so much noise you can't hear anything.
Yeah. But it is about creating this noise, or different sources have to be used. You can't just go with one media now. You have to go multimedia, right? If we talk about
And you have to continue to ask yourself, what am I providing that somebody should be interested in other than yourself?
Oh, yeah.
During your visit to Central Asian University, what is the memorable thing you will remember from here?
Well, so far it's the visit with the students before we came here. You could tell they were very interested, ambitious, and see a big, wide world ahead. And that's always energizing.
Yeah.
People's energies can stimulate your energy as well.
And I'll ask you a similar question, but on a bigger scale. On this visit to Uzbekistan, what impressed you the most about our country?
A country that seems ready to break through and truly move ahead. You've had growth in recent years, which is good, and just have to continue removing barriers, like making it easy to set up the business. And you've got the advantage in this country. Your government debt is not as bad as ours or Japan or other countries. Keep it low and realize it is the entrepreneurs, not the bureaucrat, who makes the world really move.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. I think this was great for our audience to listen to a perspective on how media works and how it all develops. And thank you very much, Mr. Forbes.
I have
Thank
a
you.
last question for
Okay.
me. Yes, if you don't mind. It's an honor and a dream for me to be in the list of Forbes. And what do you recommend for us, for women in Uzbekistan, to be in the rank of Forbes? From what we have to start? We have a business. We are earned good money, but we don't know from what we start. But it's our dream to be there.
Continue to do what you think you're good at. If you just see it as earning money, you probably will miss opportunities. A lot of the people who created, or you take Microsoft, that was not a money scheme,
Yeah.
nor Google. Google started out as a search engine and beat the companies that should have dominated search, like Microsoft. Microsoft missed the importance of the search engine. And so it's seeing an opportunity and then pursuing it and see where it leads you. And like Sam Walton, what out there can you learn from? What openings? Just give you one, just pops into mind. The inventor of modern banking was a man in the U.S. called A.P. Giannini. He was in Northern California, son of Italian immigrants, and was in the fruit business, succeeded, and he was on a bank board, and he said, why aren't we serving all these immigrants coming into Northern California from all these countries? And they said, well, we don't know who these people are. They don't yet have a lot of money. So they ignored them. Banks in those days only went to the well-to-do. So he left the bank, started his own bank to serve this community. He knew a lot of them through his fruit business, and did loans that had low interest rates, mortgages. He did branch banking. He did advertising. His original name was Bank of Italy, because he was Italian. And then years later, he bought a small bank in Los Angeles that he took the name from, which was Bank of America. And he made the world's biggest bank. He saw opportunity. He financed the wine industry in California, financed the early Hollywood movie studios, which no one would touch because it was so uncertain. He helped create Fox, MGM, Columbia Pictures. Then in the 1930s, he saved Disney from bankruptcy when Walt Disney was trying to create a movie length feature, cartoons. Cartoons usually were just 2 or 3 minutes in those days. And so it was Giannini who gave him the money to complete Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. which changed the whole entertainment industry.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And you go to San Francisco, you'll see the Golden Gate Bridge. That was started in the 1930s, and they couldn't build it. And even though there was the Depression and the bank was in a lot of financial stress, he nonetheless bought all the bonds to build the Golden Gate Bridge. And one final thing, seeing an opportunity, back in 1906, he was in San Francisco. They had the terrible earthquake that destroyed the city.
Yeah.
And he had the presence of mind that when the tremors finally stopped, he went to his bank with a couple of wagons and took out all the gold and cash, put them in the wagons, covered them with fruit, took them out of the city because he realized that after the earthquake, the fires would come and in those days would melt the vaults of the banks. So the banks couldn't open their vaults to get the cash because of the intensity of the heat. So as the fires abated, he went to the wharf in San Francisco, put out a table, put cash on the table, and said, any merchant coming along, I'm going to lend you money, and we're going to start to rebuild. Now, who would have thought in an earthquake have that kind of presence of mind, see an opportunity? I'll give you one other one, talking about women. No one has ever heard of a woman called Margaret Rudkin. Back in the 30s, one of her kids had health problems, including he couldn't eat bread, processed bread. And somebody told her that maybe a certain kind of wheat might help. So she did experimentation and ended up inventing modern whole wheat bread.
I have heard about it, yes.
And her physician was impressed. He recommended it to other doctors, so she soon found herself in the bread business and decided to give it the name of where she lived, which was Pepperidge Farm. And then she went to Belgium, found a chocolatier, so we got those cookies we have in the U.S., Milano and others. And then a trip to Switzerland she came back with goldfish crackers in the U.S., which is essential for parents with kids.
Great.
So, but she was home with a sick kid and made a business out of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your time.